So, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Invest Moldova Agency and the Ministry of Energy, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Power Up Moldova Energy Forum. We are very happy to have you all here today, distinguished speakers, partners, and investors. And we thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope that today's discussion will be insightful and productive, leading to new partnerships and opportunities in Moldova energy sector. At Invest Moldova, our mission is to help investors to discover the opportunities that our country has to offer and to support them at every step of their journey. We believe that Moldova is ready to play a stronger role in the regional energy market, and this forum is an important step in that direction. And now, it is my honor to introduce our motivator and driving force, the Director of Invest Moldova Agency, Mrs. Natalia Bejan.
Good morning, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the last day of Moldova Business Week, the 10th anniversary edition of Moldova Business Week, which is actually not at all an unimportant day. Today we have some very, very interesting and important events that will be happening throughout the day. An energy forum, for sure, is one of those extremely important topics. As you know, over the last few years, Moldova has been put in this situation to learn how to be, from the energy perspective, extremely resilient. And even though we are not yet speaking with a strong, confident voice about the success story that we have in the energy sector, we are getting very, very, very close to that point. In 2019, which is like 5 and a bit years ago, less than 3% of our energy in Moldova was from renewable resources. Our target today, I hope everyone knows about it, I think everyone knows about it, 30% by 2030. But I hope you also know that even during this summer, we've had plenty of days when we have already exceeded this target, which speaks about the fact that we probably can even increase our ambitions and even become more resilient and more energy effective. Still, there is a lot of work to be done. We still need to build the generation capacity. We need to learn to better balance the energy. We need to add the storage into our systems. And we also need to complete the 3 transmission lines to Romania, extremely important 3 projects that will integrate Moldova to the European market and will close the topic of the energy security for the Republic of Moldova. And these things, it sounds just like a couple of sentences, but it's an enormous work and it's enormous result towards which Moldova is going. And besides this, we also care about the innovation. As you hopefully know, at the end of last year in Moldova there was launched the Energy Sandbox, which is encouraging innovation. It is the first type of such sandbox around Europe that is encouraging innovation in the energy sector. I would like to applaud and to really thank the Ministry of Energy team, because this was possible only thanks to the work of the people that are in this team, to the professionalism, to the dedication of turning really one of what could have been one of the turning point crises for Moldova. It could have torn us apart. It served as an important lesson for us to grow out of it and to become much more stronger today. So on behalf of Invest Moldova Agency, thank you very much for your time, for your interest, for your energy that you are bringing today to this event. And I wish you a very interesting, inspiring, productive Power Up Moldova Energy Forum today. Thank you.
Thank you. It is now my privilege to invite to the stage the Minister of Energy of the Republic of Moldova, Mr. Dorin Junghetu.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I look at this room and reminds me about one of my first public appearances. And here we are, about a week before the elections, I'm sitting here in front of you. It's been a long way. I would like to annoy you a little bit with my speech, but, well, it's an important thing that I would like to address to you in this important day. And I really like the motto, Power Up Moldova. This is very encouraging, very motivating, and very powerful indeed. Distinguished representatives of the business community, dear friends, I am delighted to be here today at the most important economic forum of our country to speak about energy. You know, energy is like blood for our economy. If it flows well, the whole organism is healthy. If it's blocked, the economy itself struggles to breathe. Over the past 3 years, the Republic of Moldova has undergone a true energy transfusion. And I can proudly say that today we are stronger, more independent, and greener. In 2021, we had only 120 megawatts of installed renewable capacities. Today, we have reached 784 megawatts, of which 545 megawatts of solar panels and 214 megawatts of wind farms. That's more than 6-fold increase, and the story has just begun. Through the first auction we organized and we concluded this year, we secured the cheapest prices in our portfolio. 59 euro per megawatt hour for solar and 67 euro megawatt for wind. Even lower than the price of electricity which was previously purchased from gas power plant. We have also stimulated prosumers. Over 5,000 households have become producers, not just consumers, adding more than 163 megawatts to the whole energy system of the country. And it's not just words. On August 23rd, everybody remembers that day, Moldova had hours when 100% of the electricity consumption of the country was covered with green, clean energy produced in Moldova. It was like passing our energy maturity exam with top marks, and I think you will agree with me on this statement. But producing clean energy is not enough. We must also consume it wisely. We launched the Residential Energy Efficiency Fund with a budget of over 1.5 billion lei, or approximately 71 million euro, to rehabilitate 1,500 houses and 100 apartment blocks. We began energy efficiency projects in hospitals and provided nearly 67,000 eco-vouchers to purchase LED and household appliances, energy efficient appliances. As the saying goes, the cheapest kilowatt hour is the one that we don't pay for. Probably the most important evolution which made possible other reforms was the synchronization of Moldova's power system with the European grid back in 2022. Since then, we no longer depend on the post-Soviet system and we can access multiple European sources. The Vulcanești-Chișinău overhead power line, already 87% completed, will be the backbone of our energy independence. We have signed memorandums with Romania and European institutions for other strategic lines like Bălți-Suceava, and secure the financing from the United States government for Strășeni-Gutinaș power line. Even more importantly, since January this year, not a single kilowatt hour has been purchased from GRES. Energocom was able to secure 100% of the demand from alternative sources at the average price of approximately 118 euro per megawatt hour. And because no market can function without rules, we finalized the third energy package and certified Moldelectrica as an independent operator. We now have a more transparent, competitive market that attracts investors and connects us with the regional traders. On the gas front, we made a historic stride. Moldova joined the vertical corridor, and for the first time we purchased, back in 2030, LNG from US. We created gas security reserves, enough for an entire winter, something unthinkable 3 years ago. We separated the transmission operator from Gazprom's control, and an independent audit proved that Gazprom claimed debt not 756 million, but only 8.6 million is this debt, or this claim. Sometimes the difference between myth and reality is bigger than a simple gas bill. In the heating sector, we are modernizing the CHP plants, installing thousands of individual thermal points and transforming old blocks and horizontal distribution and individual metering. This means 20,000 apartments in Belz, 300,000 in Chisinau that will benefit from all these works. Cogeneration and energy efficiency projects will bring annual savings of 4.7 million cubic meters of gas and reduce the CO2 emissions by 64,000 tons. In simple terms, we are teaching the centralized system to be as flexible as an electric kettle in every citizen's kitchen. We cannot build the future without digitalization and security. We launched the first innovation projects in the sandbox framework, and we are scaling up smart meters installation. And we concluded cybersecurity audits for all the critical energy companies. We developed the 2026-2030 digitalization plan to ensure that Moldova's energy is not only clean and affordable, but also safe against any kind of hybrid attacks. Ladies and gentlemen, in just 3 years, the Republic of Moldova has gone from vulnerability to resilience, from dependence to diversification, from darkness to green light. I'm not saying we have reached our final destination, but we have put the train on the right track. It is said that if you want to go fast, you have to go alone. But if you want to go far, we have to go together. And we choose to go together with our citizens, with our business community, and with our European, Romanian, and Ukrainian partners. I invite you to continue this journey with us. Moldova needs your investments, your ideas, and your energy to transform this success story into a lasting one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Minister. I think 2025 was a really great year in energy sector. To provide more details about the upcoming tender, and I think it's one of the highlights of today's program, I'm pleased to invite State Secretary Carolina Novak to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really a pleasure for me to be here and to present you the next opportunities that we are having in the renewable sector, not only, as well in the balancing market sector. But before I go into the technical details upon what are the next opportunities, I also really want to emphasize that this success of increasing the installed capacity by 8 times, or increasing the renewables consumption electricity sector by 5 times at minimum, it would have not been possible by the massive support and great teamwork that we have done at the Ministry of Energy, with a great team behind, a rocket team, with all the experts involved, that have really literally worked in the weekends and with the long meetings we had. But also, secondly, many thanks to the courage that our local investors and even to some extent foreign investors have showcased in the sector. Because it takes courage when you have still a war next to your border, and trust and commitment in this country to place these investments. And thirdly, but not the least, the massive works also that have been done by the TSO, transmission system operator, Moldova, by the DSOs, because if you do not have the capacities to transport this electricity, then, you know, it's pointless to have the generation in the first place. Okay, now let's delve into the status quo and what's next. So, as Minister rightly mentioned, if we're looking on the first graph, we can see the 785 megawatts of installed capacity just at the end of July. We believe right now we have already hit over around 800 megawatts installed capacity. Yes, we can also see that solar is leading so far the pathway. Yes, because PVs have dropped in price by 10 times in the past 10 years. But we very much want as well the wind to increase in terms of share, because 1 megawatt of wind can double produce more electricity than PV. We'll come to that part. As well, we can see the slow and then rapid increase. So already for this year, we believe we will overshoot the 25% of renewables consumption in the electricity sector, right? Okay. Now, we have recently just presented the energy strategy of the Republic of Moldova towards 2050. Some remarkable elements of this energy strategy, which will be approved hopefully in 1 month or so. Currently, we have around 77 of energy imports dependence. Now, one bold element out of this strategy indicates that we can drop our dependence of imports towards 40%. And this is in the next 25 years. Likewise, one of the main elements of this energy strategy is that we can electrify really a lot of sectors. And for the Republic of Moldova, a country with no gas, no coal, no oil, yes, the future is electric. And from 10% of what we're having currently in terms of energy consumption that the electricity sector has, we can reach to 65%, and that is through heating and mobility sectors. The third element of the energy strategy indicates that we can get to up to 85% of electricity production in Moldova, or also called low-emission production, because in fact it's even more than electricity. It can be waste-to-energy, say from the municipal waste, biogas, a bit of incineration, because that will be reflected further on in the thermal heating as well. And the fourth element here, we believe that we can get up to 5 interconnections, right, with Romania, which is also with the European market, because we will need as well all the surplus of electricity to be able to transport it cross-border, especially given that we already have close to 800 megawatts installed capacity. So, as I said, the future is electric. Now, how will 2050 look? And what is our direction? Where are we heading? And what we have to do? Apologies if this is in Romanian for the non-English, non-Romanian speakers, but we'll delve into this. So you could see 65% is the electricity sector. Then it's being followed by the thermal energy, so 17%, where we will have what we already envisage by now. We'll have boilers, we'll have waste-to-energy, we'll have thermal storage as well, we'll have PV collectors and many, many other diversified, so also thermal heat pumps for the thermal energy. The third element here in orange, you could see 13%, it's the oil products. So yes, currently, by the way, we have the biggest share in our energy mix. It's being represented by oil products, right? Around close to actually 70%. We could see how this is dropping because electricity is taking over the mobility sector and lower emissions as well. Then the fourth one here, we have the biomass, because we still have a good chunk of Moldovans who would heat themselves with biomass, with wood. And the last element, surprise, surprise, so gas as such would be around 5% that is being estimated, where pretty much half of it would be renewable gases as well, so biomethane, but as well hydrogen. Okay. Now in terms of how will it look, the installed capacity of, for 2050, and apologies for I think it was a bit of a mistake here, but in rough terms we have the following in terms of installed capacity. So we have wind, 2,600, and allow me just to explain a bit. So this data derives from the modeling that our colleagues have done. So there is underpinning modeling behind as part of the NECP, National Energy and Climate Plan. And this is how we see pretty much more or less under the envisaged policies as well, priorities of the energy sector. So wind, followed by solar. And I know that if we are already at 800, 1,200, it wouldn't be that difficult to reach towards. But then it's also a matter of how we will increase our energy consumption, whether we can expand upon industrialization, or how will the hydrogen market evolve, and so on. Then we see also a component of 300 megawatts installed capacity for nuclear. By nuclear here we mean SMR. And yes, currently in the world we do not have any yet such capacities being operational, so it depends as well by the price of the nuclear, and as well the investments that, for instance, OpenAI, Microsoft, Meta are making already in SMR, and how this will drive the costs down. Municipal waste and a bit of natural gas, because we'll have the thermal heating, biomass, and a bit of, what's the most important also element here, we have storage, around 600 or 1,200 megawatts hour, because that will be a key element, especially for solar. Okay. So, the first renewable auctions, I will not delve too much into this slide, because I think those in the sector already know it. So, basically, this was the first historical tender we ever had. And for PVs, we have managed to reach around 59 euros per megawatt hour as an average weighted price. And we had, I think, around 16 participants with 6 winning bids. So again, I know it's small capacities, 60 megawatts and 105 for wind. But for the Republic of Moldova, this is, it might be a small step for the others, but for us it was a pretty big step. And for wind, we managed to get to 67 euros per megawatt hour. Very important as well, because that indicates, and again, for us, we believe this was a success because we had competition, because it was a fully transparent process, a very much bottom-up process where we engaged thoroughly with all bidders, and we made sure to thoroughly assess all the offers. And this is also the price in itself. If you look at both technologies, it indicates a solid result. Perhaps a few elements here. Look, this also, because when we talk about renewables, it's also about jobs. I know that maybe it does not generate as many jobs as in oil and gas industry, but still, renewables does play a role for generating new opportunities such as new jobs and new investments. So we estimated at least over 400 jobs, at least at the installation process, and 40 jobs in a stable, let's say, in a full-time equivalent process. Likewise, this is, by the way, the biggest direct investment that we ever had in the country, or we will have, because still wind projects will have to be built. And we estimate around 190 million euros of investments in the next 3 years in total. We all know, for those who are in the sector, so again, this first auction, because we don't have yet day-ahead and intraday, so we have the fixed end price for the auction, and then once we have a functionable, a liquid day-ahead, we will then transition towards CFD with a strike-in price, right, that the bidder will have upon participating in the auction, and then the wholesale market price, the market price. And the difference, it would either be paid, say the market price is under strike price, or that difference will be paid by the off-taker to the developer. Sorry, it's the other way around. If the price on the wholesale market is higher than the strike-in price, the bidder, the winner pays it back, and then vice versa, the state or the off-taker pays it back when it's under. But FYI, for those who do not know, we will launch the day-ahead market by the end of this year, right? So PEM, the Electricity Stock Exchange, which is a subsidiary of OPCOM, we will have it opened by the end of this year. Okay, now look, for the second auction, a few elements here. We have done the modeling in this case as well. And when we talk about modeling, it's about the Plexus tool done with the support of the Energy Community Secretariat, which indicated the following. So in a conservative scenario where, for instance, we do not have any exports at all, we got to this capacity of 170 megawatts wind capacities that can be allocated as new capacities in the next 3 years. Again, here is very important for the Republic of Moldova to be able to increase its consumption. And when we're talking about consumption, that's the industrial consumption as well, which we very much needed likewise. And we have also got to the conclusion, because we need more stable flows of electricity. So it's very important, for that matter, we have included the 22 megawatts of installed capacity for the batteries. What does this mean? That means that for each 1 megawatt of installed capacity for wind, that producer will have to have at minimum, as a conditionality, 0.25 megawatt of installed capacity for batteries, battery energy system storage. So who would have thought, you know, that the Republic of Moldova, one of the most energy vulnerable countries in Europe, is undergoing already the second tender in such a short time. Now, in terms of the timeline, what we have done so far at the ministry, so we have started this process not in August, I would say even back in June. We have just recently approved this governmental decision 599, which sets these targets, including the ones that you're seeing for the second auction, towards 2030. So this is already the first step. Secondly, right now we are also working for this governmental decision, which is for the regulation on the second auction, the rule book, let's put it this way. And that's another important process. So we are revising and we are working really hard to manage all this legislative work till the upcoming parliamentary elections, and hopefully we'll have this second governmental decision approved, where you will have a full rule book with the storage components as well reflected. The next step for us, and allow me to open a parenthesis, this timeline, especially December 2025, the launch of the tender procedure is key, and it's also a conditionality we are having towards the European Commission as part of the reform agenda and as part of the growth plan. Meaning, irrespective of who will be the next government, they will have to achieve this target of having the announcement out for the second tender. And as a next step, we expect sometime around, say, either January or February for the bidders already to be able to put forward their bids, and by latest April to have it closed and to know who are the winners of the second tender. Okay, now I think these slides got a bit skewed probably while projecting them, but okay, bear with me. So what are the new elements? As we said, there will be the storage component. And indeed, in the world, you do not have that many auctions with the storage being reflected. But for the Republic of Moldova, which does not have any balancing market yet, this is very important to absorb these imbalances, be them positive or negative. Also, another new element, so I would call it increased transparency, meaning that once the bidding process is open, once you can put forward your bids, you could still come forward and say, look, there is this element, very important one, which blocks me in terms of applying to this auction. So we are somehow giving more freedom to that bidder to make certain changes. Also on consortium participation, so indeed we had this explanatory, we had these references on what is a consortium in the tender documentation. Now we will reflect this also in this, in the governmental decision on the rule book for the auction on 696 governmental decision. As well, updated deadlines and conditions. So there will be some new changes on when you can appeal upon that decision of the tender committee or another. And that will be also possible for the post-opening of the bids, meaning that once we open the technical offers or the financial offers, the participants will be able to appeal also at those later stages. Then we have as well the exclusion of existing power plants, so meaning for the PVs, you could see they are not being reflected here. Why? Look, very simple. First, it's also that we are seeing PVs being quite mature already in the free market, Piazza Libera, right? So meaning in absence of a support mechanism, PVs are showing that maturity. And that is happening at a global level, not only in Moldova. But also we need more stable, I would say, energy, yeah? So during the night, during the winter, which is not dependent just by the sun rays. And the return of performance guarantees, it will be linked to the capacity commission. So, to translate this a bit, you remember we have the roadmap, right, for the first tender. So for those who do not have all the permits, for those participants, they will only receive their performance guarantee once they would have to, once they will show that they have all the documentations as indicated in the roadmap, the ones that they're missing. And that is an important provision for us at the government to make sure that, yes, we've trusted you, we have given you the winning status, now it's your time to stick to the roadmap's elements. Some other new elements here. Right, so if we're looking on the third one, yeah, no cost coverage, meaning that in the methodology that the national regulator of energy would have to approve for this cap price of this tender, batteries will not be included. Once again, I will underline this. The methodology will only have the cap price for the wind. Batteries as such, they will serve as a tool, as an option for the producer to absorb their imbalances. Because remember, we'll have the day-ahead intraday in any case, they will have obligations as a participant in the market. And these batteries, they come as a conditionality to absorb their risks. But the element, if you look at the last point, right, batteries will also be able, that producer, to use them for the system services market, as well the balancing electricity market, which we are currently working to launch them. meaning that renewables producer, that wind producer will be able also to use their capacities for these two markets that Moldova Electrica will launch. Another element and why these batteries are important, as we mentioned, it's also because it will help the respective producer to absorb these imbalances, because otherwise he or she can be penalized up to 200% of the fixed auction price. So this is another element for those who are not really aware of the procedures applicable in the Republic of Moldova for the first tender we had. So the government, specifically here we're talking about the Public Services Agency, is leading on this process so-called on the pre-approval of request requirements, meaning it's an anti-chamber, let's call it this way. Before you apply to this tender, you'd have to go through these conditionalities of this Council for the Promotion of Nationally Significant Investment Projects. We call it the Council of Strategic Investments, right? So, okay, I think there's a bit of a, let's see if, okay, it works. What does an investor have to indicate here? First and foremost, the Council, let's put it this way, is obliged to analyze the respective investors' request in up to 45 days. And of course, in this Council, you have, let's say, the highest decision makers in the country. From the prosecutor office, corruption office, the key line, respective ministries, finance ministry, and it's being led by the Prime Minister. So, a few elements. Details of shareholders' associates, including beneficial owner or beneficiarul efectiv in Romanian, for those who are not aware of the beneficial owner, and maximum envisaged investment value expressed in monetary units, as well. It has to describe the commercial activity that respective investor is undertaking. Financial statements for the last 3 years, right? So not newly born, completely brand new born companies. The source of funds for financing the investment, and I think for the Republic of Moldova this is also important, given also some past situations we've had. Planned or actual investment date, criminal record, but as well criminal record of all the shareholders and associates, because this is a new element that has been indicated in this council. So not just on the administrator of the company, but all the shareholders. A declaration of intent to carry these investments. And this is pretty much, this is pretty much it. Look, in layman's terms, this is not meant to be an extra bureaucracy trap for you, for those who want to participate. This is meant to actually filter in a way out the strategic investment that they are going to make. Because renewables projects, again, Moldova is a small country. We need to make sure that we have the right investors who are pretty serious enough and have the experience to do so. Now, what are our admissibility criteria of the tender committee? So, first and foremost, it has to be registered in Moldova, and it makes absolute sense because it will be a project run here in Moldova. That doesn't mean that only local companies have to or can participate. A foreign company as well can participate, but then it would have to have a local representation. No insolvency, right? Clearly. Third, it has to be not in liquidation or in any, say, legal, I don't know, conflict there, or in a full transformation, business transformation. Tax, so fulfilled all the taxes, so no debts, no unleft, I don't know, holes there, financially speaking. It has to have 0 criminal convictions against corruption practices or money laundering or offenses against security and public order. Also not on the economic operators ban list, not in any sanction list, and when we say sanctions, EU sanctions, UN, And as well, we've mentioned it has to have the investment approval. We have to also know the beneficial owner, meaning beneficiarul efectiv, and we will have these provisions in the governmental decision 696 on the rulebook, and technical experience, yes, because we want the ones who are the most experienced. So for wind, they have to have at least 4 megawatts installed capacities. Okay. Now, in terms of the technical experience, additionally, they have to provide evidence, as we mentioned. And how do they provide this technical experience? So it's a list of developed renewable energy power plants or valid commissioning certificates or similar documents. That's what our team has done at the ministry when we were evaluating for the first auction. And for each power plant, they have to submit operation and maintenance agreements, asset management agreements, or other relevant contracts in this case, right, indicating the ownership of this power plant. And if the investor was the main contractor and outsourced operation and management services, they also have to provide that contract to the tender committee. Now, in terms of the technical capability, so we have also the project, it has to have a sort of a project description, at least with location, capacities, what type of turbines, some technical specifications, if they know already the supplier, the manufacturer in this case. Likewise, a commitment statement from the investor in compliance with the national standards and electricity network code, because, by the way, we're also finalizing right now the transposition of all the electricity network codes, and Moldova Electrica is doing a fantastic job in this sense, together with the national regulator. As well, a commitment statement confirming all main equipment is newly manufactured, because we need new wind turbines who can produce full electricity that the turbine is meant to produce, and not and avoid second-hand for this, at least for this tender, because it's a support mechanism. Construction schedule, yeah, which indicates when it will start, when it will be put into operation, and so on and so forth. Qualification criteria, right? So 3 elements. And again, remember, for those who do not know Moldova's specificity in terms of applying for this auction, for those who do not have these following 3 permits, there's an option for you also to use the roadmap. But then again, remember, the roadmap, if you use it, you would also have to place, if you are the winner, you'll also have to place your performance guarantee, right? So the participation fee, plus the this guarantee for the good execution of the project, which is double one. And for wind, it can get in a pretty lovely sum amount of money. So, land eligibility for the power plant location. I think I'm not going to delve into all the details, because I think this is pretty clear. Environmental protection requirements as well, and the grid permit. Now, attention, for grid permit, we have done also some significant changes, which are very important, I think, in general for the investors. So, for the winning producer, say you won but you don't have a grid permit, you will then be placed in this waiting list, because you will be considered as a public, you have the public service obligation, and you will be on the top of the waiting list for the obtainance of this grid permit. This is one element. And secondly, for the grid permit, we have also applied this responsabilization approach, or mechanism rather, where there is a guarantee also applied for the grid permit owners, right? Once you are the winner, let's say you participate in this auction, you have the grid permit. Once you are the winner, we have made a change in the legislation, and you would receive this, how do you call it? Yes, the guarantee of the grid permit, financial guarantee, because you would be considered the winner of the auction. So a few important elements that would enable the producer to go forward with their project. I've mentioned the roadmap, so I will not delve into this. Look, this roadmap, we came with this idea to allow as many bidders to have them in the tender committee, because it's very important to have competition. We need to have competitive prices for the Moldovan people and for the Moldovan economy. Now, the last component I'm going to delve into. So if the renewable standard, the Ministry of Energy is in charge of it, the system services and market balancing auctions, they're being led by Moldelectrica. But nonetheless, given that we have such a strong interest and we cannot develop renewables in absence of the balancing market, we will delve a bit into this as well and what's upcoming next. So, we've seen, and I think we all know, right, what has happened in Spain and Portugal and a bit in France for that matter. I think we all understand as well what implies, the expansion of renewables implies also that you need to have those capacities that can balance the grid, those capacities can absorb that excess or can provide the missing electricity capacities. So the TSOs, as the brain of the electricity system, plays an important role. And what has happened, for instance, on the Orthodox and Catholic Easter, which I think was on the 20th of April, if I'm not mistaken, we see that that generation, right, around between 12 to 3 p.m., we had that excess of generation which was not consumed. So that becomes a big problem for the frequency, right, of the grid, and that's why frequency reserves are extremely important in this case. And we have seen also what happened for the Memorial Easter. We call it the Easter of the Blajin. Because most of the people were probably out, and we have this tradition and going to the cemetery with the relatives. And you have this bigger gap of generation, extra generation, which was not consumed. And again, if we had, for instance, this you have to bear in mind, these are holidays, so that adds an extra layer. But here, right, we see the value of storage technologies, of batteries, but also I would say, yeah, expanding on our industrial consumption as well, and having a solid balancing market too. So, look, very shortly, because I think, especially for the audience, having it, you know pretty well the Moldovan market, I think. So, since we joined the NSOE, so we connected to the European Continental Grid on 16th of March 2022, historical day for us. We can right now, yeah, buy or trade electricity with the European continent in that matter. So we have this net transfer capacity, which has recently changed for the summertime, and we've reached so from 1st of April it has decreased from 315 megawatts to 255 megawatts, and then again we expect it to have back increased for the winter time. As well, it's very important to see that for the exports, right, because right now we'll soon have 800 megawatts installed capacities. We want to allow our producers also to export if they want to diversify their market. So we have right now 135 megawatts. This is about the process that currently Moldelectrica is doing. So a few elements here on the electricity balancing market. On the left slide, you can see the left side of the slide, you can see also the estimated capacity reserves requirements necessary for Moldelectrica in order to be able to operate its system accordingly, right? And to make sure that we don't have any imbalances, there is no disturbances created in general upon the grid, and having that sweet balance between consumption and generation. So I will not delve into all of them, but you see the frequency containment reserves, we see the automatic frequency reserves restoration, which they are plus 65 and again minus 35 for the negative imbalances, manual frequency reserves restoration. Now, not to lose into all of these details, perhaps what's important, we have as well in the reform agenda, like we have for the renewable standard, this deadline, right, to launch by the end of this month, which is not a lot of a lot of days. We have roughly less than 2 weeks by the end of September. So to launch the procurement of new balancing capacities. And our teams from Moldova Electrica, from the national regulator as well, the Ministry of Energy, we are working heavily to make it possible. And for that matter, first and foremost, they will have, Moldova Electrica, they will have to open the tender for the internal capacities, right? To figure out whether we have participants in the Moldovan market to be able to provide these balancing capacities. Let's see. And that is to say, the next process, once we realize that these capacities are not being met for the balancing market, but also the system reserves, the system services, sorry, then there will be another tender open for the freshly new or newly installed capacities. That's a very important element. Here you see indeed the roadmap again. The main lead here is Moldova Electrica. Please follow them in terms of the announcements to be made out if you're interested into this investment. We'll also make sure that this tender for the balancing market is equally published on the Ministry of Energy's website, on Invest Moldova's as well. And please keep an eye. There will be public consultations, of course, with the participants in the market. But this is the most important element here also for you. That in November, so in September, by the end of this month, we'll launch this tender for the procurement of new balancing capacities. Now we are also working intensively for the assessment of the tender documentation, which it's a heavy exercise, but we are very ambitious to reach it out in due time. And then in November, there will be literally the tender for the procurement of new balancing capacities launch. That is to say, thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions. If they are actually, given that there is a specific agenda here, if there are specific questions, please reach out to us and we will we'll coordinate and we'll also provide you more information on the sideline. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Novak. Okay, I hope that for those who want to participate in the new tenders, definitely now you have much more details. And now we are excited to begin our panel discussion on achievements and business opportunities in Moldova energy sector. We are privileged to have here a diverse group of distinguished speakers, and I would like to invite on the stage Marcela Lefter, the CEO and founder of Sedera Green, Ion Muntean, Director, National Center of Sustainable Energy, Thomas Alvedek, Deputy Head of Cooperation at Embassy of Sweden in Moldova, Cristian Rotaru, Head of Large Corporate Department, OTP Bank, Moldova, and Tatiana Adnarog, CEO and founder, Unisolar. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Mr. Alexandru Sandulescu, a recognized expert in energy sector who will guide us through the panel discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome everybody to this, I hope, very interesting panel. We will have to discuss for about 1 hour regarding key lessons from 2025, priorities for 2026, and investment and partnership opportunities for the private sector, obviously, in energy. Now let me start with some thoughts about 2025 and priorities for 2026. So I think 2025 was a very challenging year for Republic of Moldova in what concerns energy sector. There were many achievements in this area, and I will try quickly to highlight several of them. So the start of the year was marked by a gas crisis in Transnistrian region. And here probably the lesson learned is that it's not a very good idea to depend on only one source of gas, even if it is at very low price. The second element to highlight is that actually this crisis triggered the second big milestone was achieved in what concerns integration of Moldovan energy sector, yes, into internal energy market. And here I am referring to the fact that starting 1st of January 2025, all electricity on the right bank is procured from electricity markets at market prices. It was a painful price increase at end users at the beginning of January, but I think there is a big achievement in what concerns security of supply, in what concerns diversification. Now there are a lot of possibilities, a lot of suppliers to buy electricity from. I say that it was a second milestone. The first milestone was in December 2022, when the same happened to gas. Actually, from December 2022, right bank of Republic of Moldova is procuring gas fully on the competitive market. Another achievement, first tender of large renewable investment was completed successfully. We consider success by the fact that all tender capacity was allocated, and the prices are somehow aligned to the prices in the region. So, yeah, considering these two elements, I think the tender was successful. Then, the share of renewables. Carolina also mentioned that the share of renewable increased very much in this year. Which is a very good thing, once again, in what concerns security of energy supply, because it's better to have domestic sources, renewable sources mainly, so sustainable sources, than importing electricity. But these renewable sources came with some challenges, and I think two should be highlighted. One is that, as Carolina showed in a slide, sometimes the production of these renewables is higher than the consumption, so something should be done with excess. And the second challenge is the balancing, because we do not have yet proper balancing capacities in Republic of Moldova. Then another achievement this year, and here we have Mr. Muntean, is the fact that energy efficiency in residential sector started with, I think, 4 products. So yeah, after years of projects which were focused only in public sector, now authorities are targeting also the residential sector in what concerns improving energy efficiency. Another achievement is the increase in energy supply, once again, through the power lines, so to the independence power lines, the power line between Vulcănești and Chișinău, which will be put in operation at the end of this year. Another achievement is a gas TSO unbundling, which was completed, and a new public service obligation for supplying gas at regulated tariffs was instituted to Energocom. I think for 2026 there are some objectives. One is the next tender for renewables, and I will not insist because Carolina explained it very well. Then the construction of the Java-Bălți power line, which should start in 2026. And the third power line with Romania, Gutinaș-Strășeni. You know, this week we had this very good news from American partners that financing for the third interconnection power line is resumed with 130 million US dollars. So I hope they already started actually in 2024 the feasibility study. I hope they will resume this work to the feasibility study, and we will see some concrete steps on this power line in 2026. Then, the tenders for balancing capacities. Indeed, these tenders should be started at the end of this month, and probably next year we will see investments in what concerns new balancing capacities, including battery storage. Then the development of the day-ahead market and intraday market in electricity. Hopefully these markets will start functioning till the end of this year, but full maturity of these markets is expected to be achieved next year. And of course the list remains open, so I kindly ask the distinguished panelists to add to this list, to subtract to this list, to contradict me if needed. And also I prepared a short list of questions for each of the panelists. I will kindly ask the panelists to keep in a time frame of maximum 10 minutes. So I will start with Marcela Lefter from Sedera. Marcela already has the experience of the first tender in renewables. Now will come the second tender for wind. And having the experience of the first renewable tender, what will you recommend to authorities to improve in the second one? You've seen, now we will have under discussions, tendering documentation, so it's the proper moment to try to emphasize some thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandulescu. Thank you for the organizers and having me here. So it's really a good opportunity now and to discuss about the results of already done tender. Long story about the auctions of Moldova, awaited a lot, but today we can say we did it. And when I say we did it, so all the people involved in this, so stakeholders that offered assistance, consultants and experts that worked, we business community, and not in the end, so the team from the Ministry of Energy that really did a huge work and was the first exercise of such a tenders for our country. And so I'm very happy, and it's my real feedback as a participant and investor that we did it. And the success of this exercise we can see in fully awarded capacity. We can see in already signed PPAs with Energocom and submitted all the performance bond from the winners. And of course, a very good signal about the prices, because finally what we need capacities and affordable prices. So this is the most important achievement, and I want to congratulate all the stakeholders involved in this process. So now we can go for the next step. next step will the next round. Already was explained, it was announced. So from the lesson learned, we already shared with the ministry, because it's now under the public consultation process, the amendments to the auction regulation, what we can improve, what we can add to be a more, a better process for the auctions, how we can attract investors. We know that was the interest of the foreign investors were higher, but some of them decided to await maybe this first auction and to see how they can participate in the next one. So I think for the next round, we will have more companies, international companies participating. The capacity is bigger, so we are talking already about 170 megawatts of wind. We are not talking about already built capacities, so it's another good thing. What maybe is important to highlight, and what we already sent to the team of the Ministry of Energy, is about how to reduce the risk of implementation of such a project. So reducing the risk, of course, we can be sure that the projects are viable. The winner has a possibility to finance, to build, because it's not just about the price. It's not just about to bid and to be awarded. Because immediately from the next day, it's a huge action plan, challenging action plan for the investor. How to obtain financing, how to avoid all the red flags that a very deep due diligence of an international financial institution can be on the list. So this is the most important, how we are facing all the logistical issues, because we know transporting new wind turbines, it's totally different than the experience already that we have in the country. So we need new roads, we need to build new and additional belts for some villages, cities, how to transport from Giurgiuleș port, cranes, and so on. So now we have a long list of challenges that we have to manage. So why the risk? To avoid the risk for of the implementation of such a project, it's very important to look maybe of two main elements that, from my point of view, are very important. One is experience. Is one to have experience in installing 1 or 2 second-hand turbines, and in this case to have 4 megawatts of required capacity. And another is to manage to build a wind farm. So it's totally different exactly from the point of view that I mentioned earlier. So this criteria of experience of 4 megawatts, from my point of view, is not relevant when we want to see experienced companies. The second important one is about the roadmap. The roadmap that, you know, we discussed a lot, we shared a lot of thoughts and opinions about this. We understand the vision of the ministry having a very open platform and possibility to participate for different interested companies and citizens. But in the same time, I want to share from my personal experience working with international investors that such a provision, when we are saying it's open for everybody and this door is open too much, so is not creating a comfortable framework. So is scaring big and professional investors when this kind of eligibility is not present in one tender book. So maybe it's a question to put some criteria in participation, so not like a copy of ID, exactly what we discussed. So, and will create a more clear frame for international investors and will raise this appetite in participating and entering in the countries. So these are my main highlights, so we can come back after that, so with more details, but I let also other speakers to come with comments.
Thank you, Marcela. I think these insights from the experience of an investor which already have some projects in the first tender, which is a winner among the winners of the first tender, but not only this investor in the region. So it has a possibility to compare Republic of Moldova with other areas.
Yes, sure. So the experience in the auctions we have as Sedera participating with other partners, also with one of the winners in this project, the French group Care Group, that also was awarded in Romania in the last CFD and the last 2 rounds of CFD auctions in Romania, because in Romania we had in December 1 call and now in July another call. Just few words about Care Group, because there was a quite big experience in being awarded also in auctions in Poland, Germany, so different jurisdictions. So it's a very great honor to have this partnership, to work with them and to realize this project in our country and to have such an investor here in the country.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Mrs. Tatiana Odnorok, you are managing Unisolar, a company involved in turnkey projects in solar and batteries in the region. And once again, as also the question was to Marcela, what differences did you notice in Moldova, and what can be improved in Republic of Moldova in order to facilitate such investments in the area you are active? Considering the experience, the regional experience you already have, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for being here and taking part in this interesting discussion. First of all, several words about our experience, of our company. I'm CEO and founder of Unisolar company. It's an international company which provided renewable energy services and projects for more than 16 years. As we discussed before, Moldova during last several years reached brilliant results in renewable energy. Moldova, as we heard from the previous presentations, has installed a huge capacity of solar energy, but nevertheless, till the end of this year, we are waiting for the solar capacity will increase dramatically as well, and it sounds really very nice. And again, we are waiting for the new installations of the wind turbines during this year and during the next year. And what it means for Moldova electricity chains. It means that from our experience, not just in Moldova and in other countries, European countries, as we already installed approximately 300 megawatts of solar plants in the East Europe, we faced with the same issues. The electricity of solar and wind don't stable during the days. It means that we faced with ups and downs during the days, and it So it means that electricity production depends on the weather conditions, and it means that the electricity will be not stable. Peak demand, and I think it's evidence for everyone that consumption during the morning and during the evening is higher, and during the day we have some additional electricity, and we need to use this electricity in the right way. And the third point, Moldova became the European ENSO-E ENSO-E community, and it means that at the nearest time we have to connect fully with European standards, and we have implement modern tools to keep the energy in the system. So in this case, what we can do and what we already implement in other regions. In this case, first of all, we need efficiency energy management system. It means that as Moldova has a variety of different energy supply, I mean a lot of wind energy, a lot of solar energy, we have biomass, we have some cogeneration, energy management system which will be implemented in Moldova helps us to use electricity in the right time and in the right place, and we can in such way with the efficiency management system to control the consumption and the production. And again, what's very important, experts in Moldova says, and today we already heard and show, and before the speakers already announced that it is very important to implement a balancing and storage system in Moldova. And currently we have 246 megawatt hours requested storage system. What does it mean, and how we can implement this storage system at the nearest time? And it will be a big perspective for the 2026, because without adding in our electrical chain balancing system, we couldn't to fix our big figures in renewable energy. And we are happy that in Moldova we already fixed several projects with balancing and storage system. These are the first projects. I can tell that this way in Moldova wasn't so easy, and I'm happy that there are really very nice environment here which persuade our investors to go ahead with these projects, because they can understand how important to implement this energy storage system in electricity chains in Moldova. With what maybe some issues we faced, and maybe if we speak about some recommendations, I can we faced with, on the first steps, we faced with some technical requirements, and Moldova half year ago wasn't be ready for such technical implementation of energy storage systems. But now I can tell you confident that a huge work was done together with energy supply companies, with regulators, with banking system, and we can implement in a very fast way. Maybe it will be not such capacity like approximately 200 megawatt hours, but nevertheless, Moldova already ready to start with new era in electricity, and it will be storage system solutions, and it will be energy management system, which allow again to come this country, this maybe not so big country, but for Moldova it's very important to be energy efficiency, to be independent, and to have own balancing system, because we want to be European part of electricity systems. And as I told, a huge work. It was a huge work of different authorities, different financial institutes to achieve such great success. And I say the first steps already was done, and at the nearest time we will be happy to implement not just the first, the second, the third, and the 10th balancing system in Moldova, and I think it's increased electricity chains again. So.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for your nice words regarding Republic of Moldova environment. Indeed, the big challenge for next year will be these tenders for renewables and for balancing, and mainly for balancing I think it's challenging, and here batteries will play an important role in covering the capacity needed. You mentioned about energy efficiency, so normally we will go further to energy efficiency issues, because you see there is these two pillars in what concerns increasing or reducing the dependence on imports of energy. One pillar is domestic resources, and here we have renewables mainly. And the second pillar is to reduce consumption, which means energy efficiency projects. And here we have Ion Muntean, which is director of National Center for Sustainable Energy. Mr. Muntean, there are ambitious goals in energy efficiency residential fund, which I kindly ask you to highlight. But the question is, are there in Moldova enough workforce and construction companies in order to achieve these goals? And what do you recommend to authorities regarding these aspects, so to increase the feasibility of energy efficiency projects, to increase the capacity to actually materialize the goals we have in this area? Mr. Muntean.
Thank you, Mr. Stănculescu. You mentioned about the need of making efficient the economy in order to reduce the imports, and I remember a very interesting discussion I had yesterday with a beneficiary of our program, Energy Efficiency Residential Fund in the Republic of Moldova. Yesterday we signed the contracts with 17 beneficiaries, energy vulnerable families, to implement energy efficiency measures. And one of the beneficiaries has asked me if he can change in the contract the measure for which he will receive financing. And he says that he wants to install PV system instead of making thermal insulation. Then I'm asking him, what is the share of the expenses you have for the energy bill, thermal energy bill, and for the electricity? He says that, yes, indeed, the thermal energy bill has a big share in the expenses of my budget. And then I say, this means that it makes sense to make efficient the energy consumption in your house. Okay, and he smartly says that, but I will use the PV system for heating purpose. It's like, okay, in this case, what do you think? What will happen with the energy consumption? What will happen with the power of the heat generator, heating source, if we'll make efficient the consumption? Will decrease. Then let's do energy. Let's do firstly the energy efficiency measures. So the idea is that it's very important to have a correct communication with the beneficiaries, with all stakeholders, in order to avoid situations when, for example, a beneficiary has invested in the PV systems, and in the end he realizes that this is not the most smart decision, and this decision doesn't have the biggest positive impact on his energy bill. This is the role of the government, of our role to explain this. And I will give you also some details when we were designing the concept of the fund. Of the financing product dedicated to vulnerable households, because we speak about vulnerable households. And we say that, look, in case of vulnerable households, there are some risks that the beneficiaries will not be able to ensure proper maintenance of the PV systems or of the heating pumps. So it's a risk of investment. Let's focus on energy efficiency. Then, when we were designing the concept of the Green Home program, we were discussing how to approach the PV systems. And we were discussing with colleagues from the ministry two options. Either we go, we couple as an eligible measure PV system plus battery, or the second option is to couple PV system with batteries plus heating pump, or battery, or PV system, battery, and the proof of having electrical car. So in the end, we went with the last option, with three components: PV system, battery storage, and heat pump, or the proof that the beneficiary has an electrical car. And once we launched the program, so far we realized that even with three components, we have a huge request for this type of measure. So the people still ask for PV system with battery and heat pump, or they prove that they have an electrical car. But anyway, we respect the principle of energy efficiency first in our financing product, and they will not receive financing for PV system with batteries and heat pump, for example, if they don't prove that the house already is thermal insulated and the energy consumption is efficient within the household. Now I want to give some more details about, and coming to the answer to your question regarding the fund. The government developed this fund in order to start the investments, the energy efficiency projects in residential sector. It's the first time when in the country I implemented such projects, and we have already real examples where these projects are implemented. In this regard, the government developed a financing mechanism for the program. It's called Energy Efficiency Obligation Scheme, which comes from the EU directive, which ensure financing every year of about 12 million euro. These are not big amounts, but it's enough to attract additional money from developed partners and to start projects. So this is what we are doing now. We are trying to increase and to scale up the projects we implement. Despite the fact that these are small projects compared to the large-scale projects we were discussing before, these are very, very important because they have a very positive impact on the bills of the consumers. And in our case, indeed, there is a challenge of the presence of the construction companies who will do these works, because the budget of 70 million euro for 3 years, it's a significant budget. And we already faced the situation when we had to repeat 5 times the tender for technical supervision services. We have signed the contracts for works one month ago, and we still, till yesterday, we were searching, we were in procurement procedure for identification of supervisory services for this work. So in the end, we found the solution. We contacted this company, and starting with Monday, 41 household individual houses in 41 households will start the works. So this is a very important achievement, and we understand at the moment, from the perspective of the construction companies, they want to have a clear picture what will happen in the next year, in order to be able to build their business strategy. If they will see that there are proper mechanisms, there are serious intentions about energy efficiency, about renewable projects, and these are documented in a clear strategy, then they will participate, they will adjust their business strategy, and will participate in these projects. And this is something normal, will increase, and in the meanwhile, when we are implementing and we are preparing other projects. A specific aspect is related to the Green Home program, which is designed for all families, and about the capacity of administration of such funds and implementation of many projects. We tried to digitalize all processes and to use, for those who knows, the same approach we applied for Eco Voucher program, where all processes are digitalized. The interaction with the beneficiaries, it's only based on the digital platform. No direct contact with beneficiaries, no papers, printed papers, and the market will be the private companies will be our partners in implementation of such projects, because the beneficiaries, they contract their companies who will do the energy audits, the works. We will monitor the quality of the works. We will monitor all stages in order to ensure that the works and services are delivered properly for the quality we have asked, and in the end to be possible to disburse this 50% of the cost of the works, not more than 200,000 Moldovan lei. So I'm optimistic that the targets which we established for this program are achievable by using the very organized approach, very digitalized solutions, and very good communication with development, with the partners, construction companies, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you also for these insights from CNED activity. Now, we were talking about a lot of projects, a lot of important actions, a lot of achievements made by Republic of Moldova this year, and not only in the last period of time. And all these achievements are on the path of gradually integrating Republic of Moldova and Moldovan energy sector into internal energy market of European Union. Here our development partners played a very important role in supporting these actions through technical assistance, but not only, also grants were generously given to different projects, including energy efficiency, including energy vulnerability fund, because I mentioned it was somehow an unpleasant increase in gas prices, in electricity prices during the last period of time. But these increases were managed through this energy vulnerability fund, I think, very well. So we have here Mr. Thomas Alberteg from Swiss Embassy, and I kindly ask you to give us some insights about the perspective of a development partner, and if possible some thoughts about 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrescu. I'm not a politician, but I will start doing the usual thing politicians do, and not starting replying to your question first. I mean, if I want to just lift the perspective a bit about the sort of Swedish role in all this, I mean, I strongly believe that what actually drives economic growth is good governance, good policy, and the private sector. So what does the donors have? What's the role of the donors in all this? And I think our role is to prepare the ground. We are entering when the risks are considered too high for the private sector, or we are supporting to lowering the risk to actually make private sector investments more feasible. And Sweden, of course, we are part of the EU, and as one of the EU member states, we are supporting and actually funding all the support that the EU are providing to Moldova in this very important dual alignment process. So we're really happy to be part of this family of member states. And here I think what we actually do is actually very important actually to make sure we coordinate so our joint support are made in an efficient way. I think there are three areas where actually we can do this kind of support to prepare the ground for private investments. The first one, well, it's already been touched upon several times now. It's actually through the IFIs, where Sweden is a member of several of them, make accessible loans, sovereign loans for investment in energy and infrastructure. And what we can do as donors also couple this with grants to lower the cost for the end users, for the beneficiaries. I think also we can, as we already do, we have one good example here in Mrs. Andrescu in terms of providing expertise, embedded experts to provide strategic advice, which will help Moldova to learn not only about the success stories, but also maybe the mistakes other member states have done on the way to EU membership. And both State Secretary Carolina Novak was mentioned it, and also Ion Monteano recently. It's not that easy actually to attract interest from international companies for biddings for tender processes in Moldova. And I've been talking with many partners, including EBRD, from government officials about this. And also when I talk to Swedish companies, and they say, well, Moldova is a small market, so we are maybe not that interested. But then I ask them, okay, so if you look on the investment are coming up now, may it be in the energy bidding process we just talked about, or in large infrastructure investments related to energy efficiency, for instance, the tickets are between 50, 70, 100 million euros. So do you actually consider that a small project? And then, of course, they start to think, a second time. So I think that sort of message that we need also to give as a donor to our member states, to the private sector in our member states, that actually Moldova might be a small economy, but actually here are large things happening, and actually it's worthwhile actually taking part in this tender process. Because I strongly believe that there are a lot of expertise out in the private sector within Europe, where actually they could actually make a difference if they actually compete in the tender processes in the future. So that's a message I take home, and I hope everyone else from the EU member states do the same to their countries. So now back to your question then. I mean, we have been in development cooperation here for many years, and we contribute to the Energy Vulnerability Fund during the crisis. And we also done this kind of thing when we actually couple grants to larger investment loans through the IFIs. And one recent example that we are very proud of is actually our 17 million euro grant to add up to the, I think it was 320 million euro loan for the Thermoelectrica district heating project, which is then the loans are provided through EIB and EBRD, and where the Swedish grant component will lower the cost for the end users, which I think is very important. To actually, a bit what you talked about, Ian Mantovano, about the fact that when we actually enter on household level, we also have to, of course, to explain what is it, insulation, or which is actually the best approach, but also then make sure actually that we have costs that are actually accessible for the more vulnerable part of the population. And there I think this sort of grants play a very important role. Another thing we are doing and will continue to do is providing small grants for micro and small companies for their energy transition. It might be in solar or another sort of small sort of investment. So these are not attractive, of course, for private investors from abroad, but we do think they make a huge difference in the overall pictures. And as also been mentioned in Karolina's presentation before, this is also quite an important part of increasing the amount of energy generated through solar panels, for instance, over the last few years. You also mentioned, sorry for quoting you, Karolina, several times, but you mentioned a lot of things I was planning to talk about. And you mentioned the sandbox model, the sandbox law, which we thought was a great concept. So through our Innovate Moldova program and together with an EU-delegated project fund to UNDP, we are starting up now a green tech hub together with the Technical University, exactly with the aim to make use of this sandbox law to explore new innovative solutions for Moldova's energy needs in the future. Because it's not only about huge investment based on existing expertise, it's also about actually using the creativity and in Moldova, and also share experience with other innovation hubs throughout Europe and throughout the globe. The fourth things that we are also looking to do and really strongly try to work on, which I touched upon before, is actually try to get the Swedish private sector involved in these sort of bidding processes for infrastructure in investment in energy. And why I think that's important, it's not because I happen to be employed by the Swedish embassy, only at least, because I guess it's part of my task to sell Swedish sort of know-how. I think also, if you look on our experience and the road that Sweden has taken, I mean, today we have 90% of our energy consumption actually fossil-free. And that's been quite a long road. We have been working on that for probably some 30 years. And behind that is not only policies, it's a lot of development, inventions from the private sector. So I believe we have actually a lot of good quality companies in the energy, in clean tech, in district heating that actually could actually take a part and actually raise the bar with the tender processes in Moldova. And with the district heating, back in the days, some 25, 30 years ago, when the Baltic states made their transition from the old Soviet systems in district heating, we made a lot of projects, the private sector in Sweden, actually in modernizing them. Because, I mean, Sweden, together with some of the other Nordic countries, are still and really believe that district heating actually is a very efficient way in urban areas. And so we have that in most of our urban areas. Which means we have a lot of companies that actually are well placed and have a lot of experience in this field. I didn't start because everyone else has started about saying, but I still want to finish with that. I mean, I'm really impressed by how Moldova has changed over the last few years, how you quickly started to actually change your direction in terms of energy dependency and investing in renewables. That shows a lot of resilience of this country. And though it might be a small company, I think that's a very good example and actually proof for potential investors that Moldova is worth investing in. Thank you.
Thank you also, and thank you for the Sweden support in these changes you highlighted in the last few years in the Republic of Moldova. Now, we were talking about a lot of projects, a lot of investments in renewables, next investments in renewables, investments in balancing, investments in infrastructure, interconnection mainly. Okay, here we have IFIs, big IFIs, as you already heard, but we have also local banks in order to finance such project. And I kindly ask Mr. Cristian Rotaru from one of these banks in Republic of Moldova, how is the bank sector prepared to support these investments, local banks sector? And if there are dedicated products or products that can be adjusted to energy specific needs, please, Mr. Rotaru.
Thank you, Mr. Sandulescu, distinguished guests, dear Mrs. State Secretary. Before tackling your question, I would like to highlight some key elements referring to the topic in order to better understand the bank's previous behavior and to be able to anticipate our future actions. So in the past 10 to 15 years, the market was driven by local entrepreneurs. Small capacity projects were developed, mainly treating these investments as a diversification of their core activity or as a complementary CapEx aiming to ensure some OpEx saving on their side. I refer here to installing of certain capacities to cover own consumption needs. The market was underdeveloped. The regulation was neither brilliant. We all remember the tariff calculation methodology capping the plants at 1 megawatts. So all these ingredients, they were not encouraging professional investors and foreign investors to act, and neither were supporting strong business cases. And we need to be honest and to admit that for banks, financing of a renewable energy project is also about sustainable cash flow projections, about capacity to structure a secure financing from a credit risk perspective and prudent lending operation. In the past years, the context experienced significant changes, as you mentioned, improvements. The market evolved, the banks gained additional experience, and in OTP Bank, we are eager to finance renewable energy projects. We have managed to build a certain portfolio here. For the purpose of preparing this panel, we made some calculations with my colleagues, and we have participated in financing of projects with a total capacity of about 100 megawatts. This year we have financed the second largest photovoltaic plant in the country, 40 megawatts, alongside with some wind and PV plants. Our intention is to provide some financing package that will combine some advantages for our clients. EBRD grant programs are of much help here. ODA also have some platforms that can be used. And the aim is to make this financing more attractive on one side and to decrease the financing cost, and that improves the transaction profile and that improves the profitability of the project from the point of view of the customer. We have some flyers on our table, and please take it not for advertising purposes, but just for informative purposes. You'll have some useful information there. Coming back to your question about 2026, we see the demand on the market. Our risk appetite is there. As of today, we are negotiating, we are in talks to finance at least 3-4 big-scale projects, both generation, but also storage capacities to be implemented in the upcoming 18-24 months. So the figure I mentioned, they are good, but I think the big figures are to come. Most of the energy projects that were developed in the past were done by companies having a different profile. So they were not, the energy was not their core activity. Therefore, the banks had the comfort to treat the projects not as a purely classic project financing, but to follow a corporate lending approach. And this gave us additional comfort because we could rely on the cash flow generated by the main activity of the sponsor or the investor. Foreign investor and professional investors, they are looking for standalone structures, for non-recourse based financing. So the project itself is the only one to be assessed. The good thing is that being part of an international banking group, we understand them, and we follow the same modus operandi as the foreign banks abroad. But having this guidebook or operational manual rules similar to the one applied by European banks is at the same time good news and not so good news. The good news is that foreign investors, they will find here people that speak the same language. So the terms and conditions that they are used to have in their domestic market will be integrated in the local structures. The not so good news, or to use a more optimistic wording, the challenge, is that some features that are mandatory in a project finance transaction are not so easy to be managed in Moldova. A PPA, not so popular word. Governmental tenders are of much help but still limited. We are lacking technical advisors and O&M companies. We are lacking reliable, independent source of information about the production capacity and prices. For example, Aurora, that is the largest data power analytics in Europe, does not cover Moldova. But all these are ingredients that are key for a project. We cannot just cancel one of them. It's not that I'm blaming somebody. On the contrary, the authorities have done a great job in the last few years. However, efforts to attract companies that could provide such services will contribute to improving of the general infrastructure of the sector, will make banks' life easier because we are not experts in energy, and will make more projects bankable. Anyway, we are trying to harmonize the local realities with the generally accepted risk requirements when financing such products, looking to find some mitigating elements on case-by-case basis. All in all, the message that I want to share is that we are devoted to support the sector, to grow jointly with the market. And I think that during the years, we have proven our firm intention and commitment to stand by our clients, satisfying their business needs, but also to contribute to the common efforts for green energy, sustainable development, and ESG standards.
Thank you. Now, we are far behind the initial schedule for this panel, but if there is any question from audience to distinguished panelists, yeah, please.
Hey, good afternoon. Alex Petrascu, country manager for Scatec in Romania and Moldova. We are one of these Norwegian companies that are developing projects, and the progress of Moldova has not gone unseen, and that's why we're here. And I think I echo what Marcela has mentioned about the eligibility criteria. I think 4 megawatts, it's a bit low, but it's a start. One of the bigger questions now here is for Mr. Rotaru. Do you find the CFD contracts bankable?
Contract for differences.
Yes, but is it
Not
something
have a
that
CFD contract at the moment. So do you mean PPA
the
with
contract with,
Energocom?
yes, correct.
Yes, this is the most comfortable instrument that we have, yeah, because the off-taker is not a private company, it's a state-owned company, but it ensures a sustainable cash flow projection. Yeah, so when we are investing into a certain project, we are looking for in the model for the cash flow, and this is a reliable source.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, please.
Good morning. My name is Piros Valatas from EU Technical Assistance Project. I would like to ask Mr. Rotaru, everybody's asking the banker, it's one question, two parts. The first part of the question is up to which level of investment are you covering as leverage for the capex of the park? And the second question is, if an investor doesn't have any PPA, how the bank calculates the stream of cash flows through the years in order to guarantee the loan?
Sure. So we are usually asking for a 20-25 own contribution of the investor. Excluding the VAT, we could finance VAT, but on a shorter maturity because it's recovered. So this is the general practice. There are another, as mentioned, we do have a guidebook, yeah. And in addition to this 20-25% cap, we also are looking on the cost per megawatt that we will finance. So it depends on the capex as well. But you could take this as a benchmark. And the second question was? Yeah. And this is in fact the challenge, yeah. As I mentioned, the most of the project that we have financed, we have combined the project finance features with the corporate finance. We were somehow relying on the cash flow of the sponsor. In addition to the project itself. In the situation when there is no PPA, when is the PPA, so the project closes. If not, till now we were rather reluctant to enter into large-scale projects. Few megawatts capacities we could do it, but obviously a large-scale investment needs to fit this criteria. Yeah, the risk premium is embedded into the pricing, but it's a different
I think
topic,
specific discussions can follow after that. We have another question there, please. It goes, it works as well, yeah.
Your Excellencies, beautiful speaker woman on the panel. My name is Nikolai, CEO and founder of Creative Business Development with AI. As far as I know, the wind turbines are 3 times more efficient in producing the electricity. They are very expensive, but we can calculate the return on investment. And maybe it would be a wise idea to suggest to the people who are willing to invest into the renewables to build mixed energy farm, renewable energy farm. Some photovoltaic panels plus some wind turbines, and especially not this one that rotate, but maybe Mr. Alexandru can help me.
So it's a suggestion, not a question, actually.
Yeah, it's a suggestion, but the question is how efficient are wind turbines in comparison to photovoltaic panels?
Marcela.
Maybe we are talking two different things. There are small households wind turbines, but there are mostly to be used in the mountain zones, so not in Moldova. And there are industrial ones when we are talking about the last generation 6-7 megawatts per turbine. So of course, from the energy production point of view, is the best way to have the hybrid power plant, solar and wind. But wind is something that can be in any place. So it's about wind resource, so we have to do measurements. It's about access, because we have to transport. It's about protection zones, so biodiversity, so we have to avoid birds corridor and so on. It's about aeronautical and defense radars, because we have to be out. And many other things. So why the wind development is specific, it's long process that we have to do during years to be sure that the site in wind is good. So why this kind of hybridization, it's not so easy and is not so feasible to be done.
Well, please, let's continue.
So exactly because we awaited this support scheme, so because it's a very costly wind project, so to be feasible, it means that we have to do it at a scale, so that huge cost of the development that I already mentioned, all the action, so it's not feasible to be done just for 10 megawatts, it should be done for 50 and more. The financing is big for 50 megawatts, for example, of wind, to have the PPA and exactly what the banks are saying, so bankable support scheme, it means that we had to await and to fight for this auction and to be awarded, to have the guarantee that who is buying for the timeline and the price. So this is the most important.
Okay, and now the last question, please.
Good morning. Thank you for your insights. My name is Cristian Slobodniuk, and I want to move a little bit out of the technical space into the investment space. When you get behind the closed doors with donors or big actors in the energy sector, how do you convince to enter the Moldovan market? I think Thomas has addressed a little bit of the small market challenge with the large bids, but also particularly with the regional security objections. How do you address them? And the second question, last night there was this forum on the Moldovans' role in the reconstruction of Ukraine, and the largest key sector for the investment opportunities, more than half out of $300 billion investment is in the energy sector. So from where you are, the government, private sector, diplomatic services, what is Moldova's role to play in bridging those services and fostering those investments into the Ukrainian market? Thank you.
I can take this question because, this is my job. I weekly have a different discussion with foreign investors, and my job is not to attract investors in Moldova or Romania or Ukraine, but is to explain and to give the real overview and inputs about the risks and, of course, about the opportunities. Yesterday, by the way, was a forum and we discussed about Ukraine recovery and how we, Moldova, can be partner in this reconstruction, and it's very important. And what is important to say, just to summarize from my point of view, is the generation, because it's a lack of generation in Moldova, and of course a lot of power plants have been severely damaged or destroyed now during the war. And the reconstruction of Ukraine will be not just to rebuild the old ones, but to transform in a total modern generation. And this modern generation will be, of course, renewable, in Ukraine with nuclear, and the Moldovan generation, solar, wind, can help, of course, in this reconstruction period. Another very important thing, and here we'll need the support of the international donors is the part of the grid. We need to strengthen our transmission lines, our grid to be reliable and to can integrate more renewable projects, to can do the cross-border activity, to can so move the electricity in the regions where is needed. So for this we will need huge investments for strengthening our grid capacities, both countries, because now from NSOE point of view, so you know, we are as a region. And not the last one is the part of cybersecurity. I think we have to collaborate more closely because it's a painful experience about the cyber attacks to power plants in Ukraine and in EU. Even we are not talking a lot at EU level, but when started the war, so just to put more pressure on European power plants and the European electricity market. A lot of power plants in Europe have been attacked cyberly, so it's very important to be safe also from this point of view.
Okay, let's stop here. Finally, I want to thank two distinguished panelists for the very open insight they disclosed to you. I want to thank you for listening to us, and I want to thank also to organizers for making possible this meeting. I think it was a successful meeting and interesting for everybody. Thank you. Let's finish here.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Mr. Sândulescu, and to all the speakers. I think it's now the networking, and for the panelists, please, can we do a photo? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So now coffee, networking, and also you can, I don't know, share some ideas and definitely find information that you want. Thank you. Thank you.